If you desire to walk in alignment with your purpose, to live a life of joy, abundance, and fulfillment, you've come to the right place. This is Sarah Locke, and welcome to Purpose Unlocked. Hello, everyone. Today I'm joined by my wonderful husband, Mark, and we want to talk about something that's really important to purpose, and that is reflection and goal setting. So, today we're going to reflect on 2023. We want to discuss what went well, our highs and our lows, the lessons we've learned, and our plans for the next year and what we're working for. So, Mark, would you mind sharing with us some of the things that went really well for you or for us in 2023?
Yeah, so I would like to first talk about certain things that I know that involve both of us, right? We had our wedding in Jamaica, and that was really awesome. It was almost 40 of our closest friends and family that attended. It was at a great hotel. Shout out to the couples resort in Ocho Rios. Had a great time, did a lot of awesome activities, and everything went without a hitch. So we were really blessed to be able to celebrate that time with our friends and family. The next thing that went well was being in Thailand and experiencing that. I know it was your first time in Asia. I've been to Asia multiple times. I did different trips, doing different things that I enjoy, like hiking through mountains and so forth. But I love that it was your first time in Asia. You got to experience that, especially with interacting with elephants.
Yes, I got to bathe an elephant, which is absolutely a bucket list item. And I even got to feed them bananas, and it was so much.
And I think one of the things that really fascinated you was how they peeled the banana with their trunk, right?
Yeah, I never even expected that. They have like little pinchers on the end of their snout, and they like squish out the banana and only eat the banana and not the peel. Some of them eat the peel, but not all of them do, which is also interesting. They all have their own like little personality, which is fun.
Yeah, it's really interesting because elephants are such interesting creatures and very smart, and you kind of see that just interacting with them, right? And the ones that we were interacting with liked human beings because they're taken care of. We went to a sanctuary for that, so that was pretty cool. And lastly, for me, top things is go having two public speaking engagements. One of my biggest goals was doing something like that, right? To be able to show a different side of myself and be more in the spotlight when it comes to interacting with from a different perspective with a certain audience or group. And since I'm in insurance, it of course, became more insurance focused, right? But it was cool standing in front of a lot of people, and public speaking is one of the biggest things that people fear more than death. So that's pretty cool to be able to do that.
Yeah. And you prepared a lot for that. And I know how hard you practiced, and I saw at first how nervous you were, and then just watching your confidence build the more you practiced was a lot of fun for me. And then you killed it, and you were really proud of yourself. So it was fun to watch you accomplish that goal.
Yeah, no, it was some of the most stressful times I ever had in my life, really.
For me, I think my biggest highlights were, like you said, the traveling that we did. So we did a lot of traveling together, and then additionally, I traveled to Italy with my sister, which was a lot of fun. If you know me, you know that I'm a foodie and I love wine. So I definitely had my share of wine and pasta while in Italy. And then just kind of preparing my body and getting things right for pregnancy because family planning is also something that we've been working on. We haven't been very successful on our fertility journey, but it's something that we're working toward. And part of that was eliminating a lot of the toxins from our life. So I did cut back on my wine, which I was proud of, and then just all of the things that you don't even think about, like air freshener plugins and perfume, hairspray, and all of these things that we use on a daily basis. I think the hardest thing for me was hairspray. I tried to completely go without it, and have straight hair, but I hate having straight hair, so I need my curls. So I actually made my own homemade hairspray, which is basically sugar water, but it works. So eliminating the toxins with the hand soap and the body wash and everything else in our house, it felt like deodorant. So I think that I've done a lot to eliminate anything that could be causing endocrine disruptors, which are things that interrupt your hormones. So trying to get on the right track there, I feel like we've made a really big step in progress. Um, and then the last thing that I was really proud of was I really want to be stepping into my purpose. So one of the things that I had been doing over the past year is teaching the Enneagram, which is something that I had become really passionate about. It's the 9 personality types, and I think it helps us not only better understand ourselves, but understand the people in our lives, those important relationships that we have, and it strengthens those relationships because then we have a better idea of how we're showing up to the world and how we perceive the world, but then how they perceive it as well, I think is really helpful. So, those are the things that I was really proud of this year. And it was a great year, but there were definitely lows as well. I touched on the fertility journey not being successful the way that we wanted it to be, but what were some of the lows or difficulties that you've worked through this year?
One thing comes to mind was just not having better control of my money as I usually do in the past. And being in grad school and I'm working a full-time job have a big contribution towards that in terms of not having enough time to really look at things how I would really kick at everything when it comes to finances. And then we combine our finances, right? We're getting married. So I wanted to do a great job of being able to not just combine everything together for us, but more have a focus on what we need to do in terms of reaching our goals.
Mhm.
So, that's I feel like that's a low for me in 2023, just because I'm usually very particular about finances and being able to see where we can get the best bang for our buck, not just like just buying stuff, but more so from my investment perspective. And I just felt like I fallen off the wagon when it comes to that, right?
Yeah. I think what you mean by control is also more so like intentionality because even though we had control of our finances, like we keep everything in order from that perspective, but more so being really intentional with making sure that we're making the right investments and what are we saving for, like being really intentional with our savings goals and financial goals as well.
Yeah, it's not like we weren't doing that because
Mhm.
we were doing a lot of that, but just like more not watching it or talking about it a lot, right?
Mhm.
A lot of couples have issues talking about money, and it's one of the things that cause a huge rift between couples, and we're not going through that at all. It's just more of a being able to be more intentional
Mhm.
than we've been before. So that's one of the things I want to focus on in 2024.
Awesome.
Another law, when I think about this and just overall my interactions in 2033, and I know that a lot of this came with stress in what was going on in terms of school and work. You're learning. I'm in a job that's very complex in and of itself, and I'm dealing with clients that are outside of my company, and you have to make sure that you're being successful. And it's really the law of not being able to control my emotions very well. And it kind of bore fruit as the year went on to see how my interactions can be, I stressed out easy on certain things, or I let your emotions affect my emotions um, a lot. So more so identifying that and being able to say, like, how is this situation making me feel? How should I pivot from this emotion? How should I talk about this emotion that I'm feeling and not just like blurt out the first thing or, get too emotional internally and then let it pretty much explode, right? So, I know a lot of that came with just a little bit more stress being involved. But actually, when you see stuff like that, you turn lemons into lemonade, right? And you kind of learn more about yourself and how your interactions and your emotions can well up and how you can deal with them. So it was pretty eye opening for me in 2023.
Yeah. I think another lesson that you learned from that was making sure that when you do start feeling yourself getting really emotional, you started being more intentional with saying, okay, well, obviously I have a lot on my plate. I need to make sure that I'm managing my time well. And I think that at the end of the year, you got more intentional with managing your time as far as how much productivity time you're spending at work, how much time you're spending on schoolwork, and then making sure you're getting enough sleep, which I know is a big goal for you in 2024 as well. Did you have another?
No.
No? Okay. I'm glad you only had two books. um, so yeah, my goals, like I said, was the fertility journey. And the other one was, unfortunately, I got laid off from my job. So I got the news in October, and then my last day was at the end of December. So I was glad that I still got that time to be figuring out, what I was going to do next. And even though getting laid off really stinks. I think that as much as it hurt, it was kind of the nudge that I needed to say, okay, I really want to be stepping into my purpose. Like this isn't part of my identity. This isn't the end of the world. My job is not who I am, even though so many of us really see it that way. And I have to be honest, like I was so proud of that job. Like it was a great ego boost when I got that. Like I got like a title and everything. I was assistant director, right? So I was really proud of that. But at the same time, like that has nothing to do with who I am. That has nothing to do with who I am to you or my family or even the how I need to show up in the world. And so it was just a realization that, I am not my job. And I think that I handled it really well. So I think that that's a highlight that I'm really proud of is that even though I was going through something really hard, I think I handled it well. In the fact that I was able to stay positive and pivot to say, no, like this is a blessing in disguise. I need to step into my purpose. And what I need to be doing is helping people and pursuing what I'm passionate about. Those are my lives. What was your biggest lesson learned from 2020?
You said it before, like controlling my time better, like having more intentionality with that, right? In measuring my productivity, because before it would be I'm doing stuff, but I feel like I'm slow, or I feel like I'm not doing enough, or I feel like I'm all over the place when it came to that, right? It wasn't a situation where I felt like I was doing stuff, but wasn't productively or efficiently doing things, right? So I put things in place to help me to be able to have a better control of that and see what I was doing, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like setting up timers in terms of, okay, I have this productivity time for the day. So overall, like you can do different things like that, like time boxing or having productivity timers, even meeting with a friend and working on whatever you're working, and you and your friend, you've done that with your good friend, right? And you're working on stuff while you're just face to face on a screen, and you just say how it's going, and you kind of keep that level of yeah, keeping each other on track, right? So being able to be intentional with your productivity was one of my biggest lessons for 2023. And another big lesson was for me was doing a better job at connecting with your love language. I think we both have different love language well, in one way, anyway, and yours is more what do you call it? The
Words of affirmation.
lyrics for affirmation, right? And I'm not a words of affirmation guy. I don't even like getting words of affirmation really. Like I think of myself as a very humble guy, so I don't want anyone really singing my praise. It's nice to hear, but it makes me a little nervous, right? It makes me feel like even if I hear it, I wonder if it's truthful, or that or someone means well by it, or yeah, I think maybe even someone is lying. I don't even know. Yeah, that's how I see it in my head
Yeah.
too. So yeah, being able to receive that better and give that to you, I think is very important. And I learned that over the course of 2023 and trying to be better at doing that for you.
Yeah. And that was a hard conversation. It's hard to tell someone, like, I need to feel loved in this way. Like, that's because it makes you really vulnerable and it makes you feel like, am I going to be, rejected from this thing that I need? Which is funny that even people that are married can still have that sense of like vulnerability and being nervous to share that. But
Mhm.
I think even though it was a hard conversation, it was one that needed to happen. And I think that it did help our marriage a lot in the way that we communicate. For me, my biggest lesson that I learned was, which I think is a lesson that I learned over and over and over again, is that I'm not in control of anything. I read this book the one time. It's called Codependent No More: How to Stop Controlling Others and Start Caring for Yourself. And it's about how the only thing in this world that you can control is your reaction to a situation. So in control of my own self, and that's basically all I'm in control of. I'm not in control of my fertility. I'm not in control of, my employment. And I think that I just needed to take a step back and be like, all right, I know that, this is God pushing me toward my purpose. And he's the one that's in control. Like, I just need to relinquish that and accept that, you know, he's not going to leave me or forsake me. He has big plans for me. He promises me hope in the future, and I just need to trust that and not be trying to control everything. So,
Mhm.
and I know we've talked about, even though we're not in control of the fertility thing or certain aspects of our lives, we do need to do everything that is within our control to be setting ourselves up for the best situation. So, like we said, eliminating toxins and things that can be interrupting our hormones and making sure that we're having the best diet. So, controlling what is within our control and what we are doing. Again, letting everything else happen the way that it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to 2024, what are your big goals?
All right, big goals. Yeah, I've gotten to a point where I like to talk about big goals now, and I know we've talked about that a little bit more this year than we've done previous times because I think we feel it. We feel that like energy for 2024, right? And I want to continue feeling that energy for 2024. So big goals for me, finish grad school. So I graduate here pretty soon. So very excited about finishing that up and being able to move forward from not just a career wise, but personal wise, right? And another thing, again, continue to be more effective with my time. I see areas where I can improve overall what I'm doing today, and more so be measurable overall with how I look at that. So very excited to do more of that in 2024. Another thing is read more and not just textbooks or Harvard business articles like I've been doing for the last 2 years, but really good self-development books. I know you have a slew of them, so I want to crack into a few of them, and I already identified two, which is Buddha and the Badass and the emotional intelligence. What is it, 2.0, 3.0? Yeah, 2.0. So those are the two I've identified for this year. So I already started Buddha and the Badass and working through that. So I'm really excited to keep going with that. And I've put on myself just reading a chapter a month. Not try to like, all right, I need to finish this like 2 chapters, 3 chapters like in 1 month. I'm gonna read these multiple books. It's just like, yeah, move slowly. Yeah, I don't have to try to race to the finish line of completing everything in one go, in one quarter, or anything like that. So I'm good with that. The next thing is have a healthier diet with what we're doing from a fertility perspective, and overall, just like looking at it from a health perspective, I think going forward, we want to have a little bit more control of what we're putting into our bodies and being able to be healthier for it in the long run. Because as you know, I want to live until 100, right? That's me. I want to see the future. And I want to see what, I want to see what it looks like. So that's me. I want to live to 100. So getting healthier for that. Another thing is spending more time with you, spending more time with family, connecting with people. With the last 2 years, haven't been able to do much of that because of grad school and starting a new job not about 2 years, almost 2 years ago now. So being able to get more back into that, even with connecting people from past jobs and so forth, so forth, is being able to capture that again with certain people I want to connect with. So looking forward to that. Another big goal, more sleep. You just talked about it. It's going to be very, very uh, important to me. And lastly, I do want to say is start this podcast. I know it's been
That's
a
my
big,
goal.
yeah,
It's still in my
but I'm doing it with you. So I wanted to do something with you like this and being able to step in the spotlight again with that because I've done that with the public speaking and now being able to start this podcast with you is pretty cool. I know I'm not going to be on all the time, but overall, like I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I support it, and I'm very excited for this journey with you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, starting the podcast is one of my big goals for 2024. I started from a place where I had no idea what I was doing, what software to use, what apps to download, how to video edit, any of the things. So, I think that, just learning how to do all of those things, right, was a huge gap. And I think that when we have big goals, we have to identify what that gap is. So, for me, that was learning all of the things that go into it. And I think that I've made such a huge leap just over the past few weeks with understanding all of that. So that's been a fun journey because I do love learning. And the way that I see it is if the only thing getting me from where I am to where I want to be is learning, and whether that's a set of skills or different things that I can use or whatever it is, I think, I've always loved learning, and that's that's an easy gap that I think that I can fill. My other goal is to really start coaching more classes. So, like I said, I taught the Enneagram last year, but I also want to teach about emotional intelligence. I think that that's something that our world, unfortunately, is just really lacking right now. You spoke a little bit about it as far as controlling your emotions and recognizing them when they're happening. And I'm glad that we've been able to have those conversations. But how often are people in the workplace or in their homes and not able to have those conversations? Either they don't have the tools or they don't have the language around it. So I think so much of my purpose is sharing those things with others so that they can have the best relationships possible. I've been really blessed in my life that a lot of the times that I've spent in corporate America has been doing relationship management, sometimes with difficult personalities, sometimes with people that don't feel comfortable or confident enough to speak out. So being the liaison between a lot of different groups of people has given me the skills and the confidence that I love that area. I love relationship management. And I think that I'm not the only one that has this power. We all have this power within us to harness our emotions and manage our relationships. And I think if we were able to do that as a society, I think we would all be a lot happier and a lot nicer to one another.
Very cool.
So that's a huge part of my purpose and what I'm so excited about entering into this year. So, and then making a baby, that's the other thing. So, yeah, so continuing on that fertility journey wherever that leads us, and just staying hopeful and confident that what is meant for us will. So that's the plan for 2024. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing year. We have big goals and big plans, and we've learned a lot, and we're ready to continue learning and growing together. Thank you for the precious gift of your time. If you found this helpful, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share with someone you love. Until next time, count your blessings, love yourself, and stay fabulous.